Good morning, dear students of class 12. Welcome to the online learning class. Today, we are going to enjoy this poem, Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. A little bit about the poet. Pablo Neruda, 1904 to 1973. Pablo Neruda is the pen name of Neftali Ricardo Reis Salto, who was born in the town of Parral in Chile. Neruda's poems are full of easily understood images which make them no less beautiful. This famous Chilean poet was a diplomat and also a politician. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1971. He wrote in green ink, which was his personal symbol for desire and hope. His writings are simple, and wherein lies their beauty. Originally written in Spanish, the essence of this poem is based on introspection and retrospection. The poet feels that some soul searching is needed for us to be at peace with others and with ourselves. The poem Keeping Quiet, written by Pablo Neruda, discusses the need for maintaining peace and silence. He stresses upon being quiet and harmless to the human beings, animals, and environment. He suggests that in order to maintain peace and harmony, it is required to stop and introspect ourselves. If you look at the rhyme scheme of the poem is written in free verse and it does not follow any rhyme scheme. Now let us try and understand this poem stanza-wise. Now we'll count to 12 and we'll all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. Here, the poet requests everyone to count till 12 in their own mind and stop for a while. Maybe this 12 referred to by the poet is the 12 hours in the clock, or 12 months in a year, or 12 zodiac signs. He wants everyone to stop and calm down. The poet urges everyone not to speak any language, as we all know that there are different languages spoken in different parts of the earth, and sometimes they become a barrier in the way of peace. So he asks people not to speak. And not only this, he wants us to stop moving our arms. By using the word arms, he means the weapons which are used by different countries to raise a war against each other. So basically, the poet is demanding peace from all of us. Moving on to the next stanza. It would be an exotic moment, without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. The poet says it would be a rare situation when there will be no engines working. Here he wants to say that if everything comes to a standstill, it would be a very different moment, exotic moment. If all the engines like the vehicles and the machines stop, then there will be a sudden strange situation. as the world will experience a sudden calmness. People will not be in a rush to achieve material things one after another. Further, the poet says that the fishermen will also stop and not harm whales in the sea. This means that the poet is urging everyone not to harm the animals, not to harm nature. And here he gives the example of whales which are being hunted for purpose of food or trade. He is urging mankind to protect the flora and fauna, which are nearing extinction. He also wants people to calm down so that they can stop and see what they have achieved or lost. In the lines, the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. He gives the example of the man who gathers salt, whose hands are hurt. Here he wants everyone to stop a while in order to see and feel their achievements and how much they have lost for the sake of attaining such materialistic things. Moving on to the next stanza. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade, doing nothing. The poet asks everyone to stop those activities which are damaging the environment. Today, all human beings are making money by damaging the environment with their activities such as mining, deforestation, letting the chemical waste into the rivers, etc. The poet asks us not to do so. He also requests people not to involve in wars, as there is no benefit of achieving such victory in which no one is left alive to enjoy the fruits of victory. He says so because wars and environmental damage will lead to no life on earth. Rather, he wants people to adopt a new approach towards life and mankind. He says that you should treat your enemy like brothers and promote peace and harmony in the world. Through the lines, would put on clean clothes, clean their conscience, walk about with their brothers who were their enemies earlier, in the shade, doing nothing, probably promoting peace and harmony in the world. The next stanza. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what is about. I want no truck with death. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving, for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt the sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Now here the poet wants to clarify to his readers when he asks them to stop from saying or doing anything. He doesn't want anyone to become a non-active person. A non-active person is a person who remains idle and does not do anything. Here the poet says, do not misunderstand him. Here he simply means that we should stop and see the consequences of our deeds. He is not promoting inactivity. The poet doesn't want to see people being killed due to their greed for money and expansion of territories. Further, he says that people are continuously working to achieve their task without even thinking about their results. The line, if we were not so single minded. Today, man has become very selfish, very self centered to achieve success at all costs. They are in fear of death and therefore want to achieve most of the things before they die. Here he urges them to stop for a while, take some moment to relish on what they have achieved till now. Everyone here is living a life in which he wants to achieve various things one after another. But now the poet says it is time to stop and see what has been achieved and should be enjoyed. This will help us skip the sadness which has become so prominent in our lives. The sadness of not enjoying what we have achieved and the greed to achieve what is next in the list. Coming to the last stanza, perhaps the earth can teach us, as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now I'll count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go. So now the poet suggests to the human beings that we should learn a lesson from God. Nature gives us ample lessons to learn, and one such lesson the poet says one can take from the earth. During the winters, everything freezes and becomes lifeless. And when the season changes and it is the onset of spring season, everything present in nature, such as trees, birds, rivers, etc., they get new life. So here, the poet, by giving the example of nature, wants to say that all human beings should stop and try to judge their deeds. They can try and make their lives better with calmness and peace. Finally, he ends up. Now, I'll count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go. He ends up by saying that now he will quite count up to 12 so that we all may become quiet. Here, quiet means to calm down ourselves and move towards the path of peace and harmony. After saying this, he says, I will go. He says so as he has conveyed his message to the people and wants them to be left alone, to introspect, to think about, and work in the direction of peace. So we stop here